Okay, so today we will talk about another thing, that is uh, how you are connecting literature, acting, and cinematography. Again, you will see often in some places people will not relate literature or acting with cinematography, but we are going to talk about few things so that you can relate to it and you will understand ultimately everything is interconnected. Again, so when you read fiction or non-fiction, what you do is you go through that thought process, you go through that indirect conversation with the author. You have great minds to talk to. You have great people you can admire, and they have figured out something they have put in the book. It can be in the form of a drama, it can be in the form of a story, literature, it can be just like journalistic writing, non-fiction, whatever be the thing. Sometimes scientific exploration too. So when you read all those things, it expands your repertoire, it expands your personality, it expands your imagination. So two words I will focus on. One will be observation, the second one will be imagination. You can focus on. So again, expression obviously is important as an actor, and you will find that the more you are reading, I mean, it is not a mandatory thing for anyone, but if you are a director, obviously reading helps. It will keep you in a better position. You may not be a writer, or you can be a writer too, but you may not be a writer, but reading books from different topics, it will keep you intellectually stimulated too, so it's a good thing to read books. But you will see that as a person, as you go through the walks of life, you will find a lot of things. You will gather a lot of wisdom, life experiences. Some people are afraid, what if you give a great performance? Some people are afraid, what if you give a great performance? So we are not talking about all those people. Even if they go through this content, I know that they won't be coming up with much great things. So people who really want to make great things, it is for them. And occasionally you will see in some places people will talk about all these things, that why are you reading a book? Ultimately you have to just stand in front of the camera, do whatever is required, and you don't have to go through all these things. But I can tell you, when you are reading literature, I have mentioned it many times, so I will just touch upon this thing, not much. You will go through the characters, you will go through the inner worlds of those characters, the conflicts, the struggles they went through, what is at stake, the writer's perspectives, first person, second person, how you are writing it, your subjectivity, your objectivity. So all those things, when you go through all those things, especially through a story, it will have an impact. Sometimes you will read some novels or novellas or short stories and you will feel like making it. You will feel like acting in it. You will feel like playing those roles, So those things happen. Maybe there is not a script yet, maybe there is not a director yet, but when you go through the writing, it is so dramatic, you feel like you can contribute as an actor, you can contribute as a director, or maybe you can write a script yourself as a writer. So all those things you can do. But again, I will come to two words, observation and imagination. Because when you go through fiction, you will see that imagination can play a big role, sometimes a huge role. Observation will play a huge role, because you will look at the characters and the way you are portraying them, the way you are building the plot, the way you are unfolding the plot. You will see that observation, imagination, sometimes both, they have their parts to play, in this game. So when you go through theater, when you go through drama school, when you go through theater, you observe animals, you observe different characters, you observe your fellow members, students, you go through all those things. But if you haven't gone through a drama school, you have life. You have life, you have nature, you have people around you, you can observe, you can do your imagination, and you have a lot of movies you can watch, how they have done this. You have a lot of books to read, how they have read it, how I can interpret it. Again, I will come back on this thing. You have the literary medium. If you talk about the screenplay, then you have the cinematic medium, the visual language, and how you are translating it from the literary medium to the cinematic medium. So gradually you will have a sense, and it has happened with many filmmakers. You will see that maybe you are writing, maybe you are going through the novel from which a script is adapted. So you are going through the original book. It can be a fiction book, it can be a non-fiction book, you are reading that. Then you can go through the script from that book, whatever be the thing, fiction, non-fiction, a script was written. And then the script was shot to make a movie. So you can have the entire workflow. You have the book or the material, the text, it can be a memoir, sometimes it can be just a memoir or a selection of articles, and gathering information on that, doing your own research. You can write a script based on that. Then you can make a movie based on that. Adding your own things, your colors and all these things, you can do that. Sometimes you can write a script from scratch. Maybe you are sitting at a cafe, looking at people, observing life, observing situations, and that can give you an idea. Now you can be an actor sitting at the cafe and looking at people, their impressions, their mannerisms, and you can look, you can observe, and you can have your own imagination, and maybe one day you are playing another role, and you can take your insights from those observations and imaginations. So that's what, again, the constant learning attitude. And as a cinematographer, what you need to learn? So why I am talking about all these things? As a cinematographer, I am considering you are behind the camera, but you have people who are in front of the camera. The more you are in that process as an actor, as a cinematographer, as a writer, you will see that when you are behind the camera as a cinematographer, you still have something else. Just rather than staying behind the camera, you have something else to offer, something much more to offer. You can go through a discussion, you can interpret the material in your own way, you can add your own visual signatures, and you can do all those things. As an actor, you can come up with great things. You can do it perfectly in one take or in few takes, and sometimes you can give more than 10 takes, but you have a lot to research, you have a lot to learn from, you have a lot of experiences to gather. So in one take you are giving something, in 10th take you are giving something else. You are improvising based on what? Obviously it will be your experiences, it will be your wisdom, it will be some guidance from the director or some other crew members, cinematographers or art directors or production designers. Mostly it is the director, the creative leader. But you can always go through a discussion with your cinematographers. They know how to light you properly. They know which side is your best side, So all those things are really great things. And coming up with your storytelling approach, you can do so much. Sometimes you can just take a picture based on the visual aesthetics only. Many people are doing that. That's why I can tell you, that gradually this camera becomes something with which you capture flesh only flesh you are capturing, nothing more than that. So again, that can be an art too. That is what I am trying to say. That can be an art too, to capture flesh. It can be something you are shooting, a scene at the beach. You can shoot the bikini pictures by the pool or by the beach, something like that, and you can do so much more. Even if you want to capture flesh, I'm talking about that. But a camera is supposed to do much more. If you really want to tell a great story, understand the visual language, and you have all these things what I talk about, then you can contribute in a much greater way. You can come up with innovative options, you can come up with more creative options, alternatives, then you can choose among those alternatives, right? So that's why it's always good to make you that human being or that relationship with the director. Especially if you are a director, you should go through these things. Or sometimes your naivete will help you. Something happens and your approach towards that. Maybe you have not read much, but you have been a very good student of life. You have been a very good student of the circumstances. You are observing. You have your imagination in place. maybe not very methodical, not very rigorous in terms of, you have everything planned and all these things. So that can be another approach for another kind of director. Some directors are doing their preps really well. They are very rigorous, they are very meticulous about their prep. So whenever they are coming to shoot, when the camera is on, they are just doing things like that very fast, because everything is prepared before. So different directors, different approaches, different cinematographers, different approaches. But when the camera is just there to shoot something cosmetic or plastic, so what you are doing is, in some cultures, I'm specifically mentioning that because if you look at in India, the situation is like location photography, wedding photography, people are putting a lot of focus on that, and a particular type of photography, and they are looking in a particular way. But we are talking about photography that is telling a story, cinematography that is enhancing the storytelling of a great script. So you have your script, you have a great director, and when you are bringing cinematography to the equation, it is taking it to another level. It is adding so many things. So for that contribution is required. So takes and shots. As an actor, you are looking at your takes, how you can bring something in the next take, how you can improvise the shots. You can have a long shot, you can have a mid shot, you can have a extreme close-up, you can have a close-up. Now, how are you deciding all these things? So that is also very important. Literature can guide you. A literary critical mind, literary criticism will help you. A director with all these things, because when you go through literature, you will see that there is a microcosm of life itself. Maybe imaginary characters, but microcosm of life. So you will learn so much about life by reading those books, discoveries and experiences. Sometimes you identify yourself as an actor through acting. As an actor, as a human being, you find your identity through acting. These things happen. So sometimes something happens in the set and you remember it for your life. Something great you did, maybe a performance you never thought that you could give that performance, but suddenly you are giving that performance and you are so happy. Ultimately, when you are looking at that performance in the theater, you are just, maybe you are crying, or maybe you are having a great laugh, and you are thinking that I could give that performance. It was inside me, and I could bring that out with that crew, with that fellow cast members, team members, with the guidance of the director. I could bring that as an actor. As a cinematographer, when you are looking at your own shot, the shot you have taken, you are looking at the theater and you are just thinking, I knew that it was in me, and I took the shot really well. Or sometimes you will think, looking at the movie, I know that I took the shot, but I could have taken it in a different way as well. So that is also a learning experience. Next time when I am doing that, I will keep that alternative as well, and then we can discuss which one to choose. So those things are there, the relationship between the camera operator, the actors, all those relationships I talk about a lot, because filmmaking is a collaborative medium. I talk about it again and again. And that literary approach will help you. Any team member can come up with that, and it can help you. So and when you go through these things, how you approach uncertainty. I was discussing problem solving, decision making, and all those things. It will tell you how you approach uncertainty too. And there is a joy in that exploration. There is a joy in that process. So you will learn about all those things as well. And many people, when they go through the theater or the drama school, they are doing a lot of techniques and practices. Sometimes people who are not going to the drama school, they have their own set of techniques, preparation, process. But I have seen some people who are becoming very lazy and who take pride in their laziness. So we are not doing it for them, because with that laziness, you are not coming up with something great. Because with that laziness, I can give you one example. You won't even go for more than 1 or 2 takes, and you don't even know whether the take is right or not. That kind of laziness we are not talking about. So you are trying to set very high standards for yourself. You are trying to set very high standards for your cast and crew, for the entire film as a holistic way, in a synergistic way. You are setting very high standards, and everyone will be very happy to be a part of that movie. But when you are not going for the takes, you don't even know whether the take is right or not, whether the take is good or not. You don't even know whether the casting is proper or not. So we are not talking about those situations, because utter laziness. We are not talking about that. Process, storytelling, narrative, again, you have to keep that in mind. You have to serve the story. Sometimes you can shoot the rehearsal of the actor, sometimes you may not shoot the rehearsals, sometimes you will shoot the rehearsals and they will see that in that rehearsal you gave something which you could not give in the main shoot, you know. So you are taking your footage from there, and in the editing table you are putting that. So be open for that. But I have seen two things, and I must mention that because today is the last day I will mention this thing. From the next session onwards, we will do it in a different way. People who are very much enthusiastic about their craft or their art, and people who are playing with the names and titles and associations. And I will see, you will meet some people who are very much busy with those games, you know, names, titles and associations, this and that, this and that. But we are talking about great movies. When you are trying to make a great movie, even if you don't know it's a great movie, but you have a feeling that it will be a great movie because you are setting very high standards for yourself and for the movie, and you have the wisdom and experience, you believe in that thing, that when you are genuine about giving your best to the movie, it will obviously turn out to be something great. That is how we do things, you know, and eventually everything happens, people are coming up with great performances, people are contributing in a great manner, and ultimately we are having a great movie. But when you are too busy with these games, that can be helpful sometimes from the producing perspectives. You are playing those games, and depending on that, you are choosing which movie to invest in. You can do that. But when you are actually making a movie, then those games and association names and titles, that can take you away from that storytelling. That can get in the way of the storytelling. Even when you are giving an award, you know, or maybe you are judging the merit of a film, those games and techniques will urge you to, it can be a problem of equity, because those scripts and movies will tell you that you don't give your award to the right person or the right movie, rather because of something else you give the award to someone else. So what are you doing? It's a problem of equity. Maybe one person worked really hard for one movie, the entire team, the entire group, or the entire the synergistic collaboration, if I talk about, they really worked hard on that movie. But when you are doing all those things, it can demoralize. I mean, obviously we are much more than that, so we don't think about that much, but it is actually diluting the standards of the particular award. And in some cultures they do that. That has become a habit for many people. So when you imitate that thing, then actually you are doing something very significant, diluting something very significant. So again, when you go through literature, when you have that artistic aesthetics, you maybe a little bit, then you will know that at least when you are doing the work, you are not compromising. So you don't think about all those things much, because the movie making experience for the audience, the movie viewing experience, all those things will happen automatically. So interpreting the material and the text, you know, by the cast and crew, with the help or the guidance of the director, it will help. I mean, people will benefit from the literature, from acting, from other arts. You can look at a performance, and then you can gather your insights from, as an actor, you can gather your insights from that performance to play a particular role. You can look at people around you, and you can get so much information so that you can play a role in a better way. So all those things we can do. You know, how much are you telling the actors? That is also one thing. As a director, how much you are telling the actors? Do you have to tell a lot? Do you have to tell less? How the actors are receiving those directions or that guidance, how the cinematographer will receive the guidance. That is also very important, because we are talking about the director cinematographer relationship as well. How much, in what way you have to communicate to the cinematographers, so that you can convey your vision to the cinematographer. Then he or she will come up with his or her own contributions, but you are communicating what you want to achieve from that movie. If you don't have in the first place all those things, then sometimes the cinematographer will be underutilized, unutilized, because they will get bored too. They will look for directions, they will look for motivation, and when you don't have a director like that, then they could have given so much more, but they didn't, right? So that's why you need to create that environment as well. So literature, acting, and cinematography, these things are related, and it can help you in many ways. For you as a director, you can have one perspective. For that person, another person, they can have different perspectives. That person, whoever he or she is, he or she can have a different perspective altogether. So we can talk about perspectives, not just one way. When you are becoming the creative leader, you are doing it in this way. When that person is becoming the creative leader, that person is doing it in that way. So we are not talking about good and bad, different perspectives. Maybe today you are making a movie like this, tomorrow or at one point of time somebody else will take a similar project, and they will completely make a different movie out of it, the entire crew. So attraction, seduction, when you know about life, attraction, seduction, how you are taking the shots. Again, I told you, it is not just about the flesh only. When you know you are taking a picture or you are shooting a video, and the attraction or the seduction is getting conveyed. Otherwise, it is like that. Hey, I am an attractive person. Hey, I am a seductive person. Hey, I am attracting. I am seducing. Do you like that much? Rather, you will create the situation in certain way. You will take the picture, or you will shoot the video in certain way. Audience will feel, okay, the attraction is taking place. Okay, the seduction is taking place. Right? So for all these things, it will always good to have an experience of life. And if you are well aware of the literature, if you have the reading habit, it can help you. Maybe you are reading a book of philosophy, as I mentioned, maybe you are reading a book of something else, and you can gather your motivation from that, and you can have cinema as your brush, you can have cinema as your pen, you can just write with light, and you have those influences, those inspirations. So all those things I wanted to mention. Geometry I won't mention like individually. Obviously, when I talked about math, you have to understand that geometry is there, apart from ratios, proportions, and all these things. Geometry is there. Even if you talk about geometry, you have ratios and proportions there as well. But you will see that accents, meters, and rhythms, these things are there too, and you will find math in there too. You will find emotional aspects, feelings, and you will do repetitions, and you will find you are gathering your elements from that repetition or those sets of repetitions, and you will eventually find something. But you are looking at life. You are reading a book. You are looking at life. Now, some people are very introvert. What they do is they are not going out much, they are not talking to people much, rather they are reading a lot of books, and that is not a bad thing. That is what I want to mention. That is not a bad thing. You can learn from that, and you can come up with great story ideas, you can write great stories. Maybe you are focusing on imagination much, but you understand life, you have got a sense of life. So if somebody is telling you you cannot do it, don't listen to them. Or maybe some person is very well aware of the people. They are very